Welcome to today's video. And today we're going to be making a hand gesture calculator. We're basically going to put up a number of fingers and then you're going to put in some operations and then it's going to and it's basically going to be a calculator. And we're going to be we're going to do match like coding environment, something called Picto Blox, using the Picto Blox machine learning environment. So first thing, you want to open up a new project and then you want to go to File, Open ML Environment, and then we got to create a new project. So you create a new project and you want to choose hand pose classifier. You want to enter project name, and then you click create project. It takes a few seconds, but once it's all loaded up, this is what it should look like if you're in the block based coding thing. So what you want to do is we want to make several classes. So I'm not going to do all of them today. We're just going to do a few just for example demo purposes. So we can call this number 1, for example. We can call this number 2, okay? And what you want to do is you want to click webcam, and then what you're going to do is you're going to hold up your fingers in front of your camera, and then you're going to basically record it. So you can see the blue dots there. They're picking up the fingers. At the moment, they're not picking up anything right now, but you want to adjust it until it can, and then you click hold to record, and you want about two, and then you should start seeing samples pop up in the side, and you want about 200 samples. And now you want it to, and you want to move it around a little bit. We want to make sure that the blue dots are recognizing your fingers. You see it stop recognizing a little bit until you have about 200 samples of your fingers. So now I recorded about 200 samples, and what I did here was I moved my fingers closer, farther away, to the left, to the right, so it has more models to train. Now we just do the same thing again for class 2. Let's say that we want to name this one number, let's say we want to make this number 3. So what you would do is you would choose a specific hand, a few hundred samples. So now I've recorded I've recorded about 200 samples for my number 3. And the way you want to do this when you're recording, you just press and hold the hold button, and then you want to move your fingers around. You want to bring it to the side, there, closer, farther, all that stuff. Now we're going to add one more class. Now we're going to add an operation. Let's say that we do plus addition. And what we're going to do for this one is, because this program can only detect one hand at a time, we can't really make a cross with our fingers. So what we will do is, instead, we will do something like this. If we do something like this instead, we could do this, but it only recognizes one hand, so it doesn't really work. And we could also do this for one. You could add more numbers, more operations, as many as you want, but today we're just going to use 2 numbers and one operation. Now you just hold to record, and you go sideways, back, front, all that stuff. Okay, so now we have some models for plus. The more models, the better, but you want to have about the same number of models for all of them. So now we train the model, and then it takes a while. So now it's just training at the moment. It's going to take a while because there are quite a few models down here. As you can see now, it comes as training completed, and you can see the graph here, and it should be done. And then here you'll see a button called test model, and you can click it, and you test model, and you click webcam. And then here, what you can do now, you can test it. So you can hold up 2 fingers, and I'll tell you that this is 2. That I'm holding up 2 fingers. That's what you set the class to. And then you can do 3 fingers, and now it's 100%. It's 100% sure that it's a 3. And you can do the plus symbol, and it'll give us a plus, a 2, a 3. Now, the more models, the better. So sometimes it can be a little bit sloppy. If you start messing up, if you don't do it perfectly, it might start giving us different results. And it's not perfect. But the more models, the better. So now what we do is we click export model, and we export it to our code. Once we export model, you should be into here. You would have the original bear. I've just redrawn the costume of this one. So you would have this one. I just added a costume and put to this one because this will be a compute button. So what this code is going to do is you're basically going to show up some hand signs. What happen is once you're done, and you click compute, it's going to basically compute whatever you put in with those hand signs. So for example, you can do the 2, and you can do the plus, and then you can do the 3, and you click compute, and it'll give you 5. That's what we're aiming for. So now the first thing we have to do is we have to create some variables. So I have 3 variables here: my variable, n, and temp. These are temp is just a temporary variable, n is the number of loops we're going to run through, and my variable is a variable. And we want to make a list called q. So the first thing that you want to do when we're coding this is we want to get the open recognition window and the turn on video stage with 0 transparency blocks, and these can be found in the machine learning environment section, and that the machine learning environment add-on can be found in here. You just have to click that, and you find the machine learning environment, and you add it on. So these 2 blocks, we just add them at the beginning, and we add these 2 and configure the webcam and make sure that it detects, set up the place where it detects the hand signs. That's just the setting up the camera part. And you want to do this when you click the flag. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to make this happen when you click the flag. And what we want the code to do is we want it to keep analyzing the hand gesture, and we want to determine the class. So how you do that? We can use the block analyze image from web camera, and we want to do it forever. But there's a catch, because what this will do is this will forever just keep checking whatever is currently in the camera, and it will just and if I were to like add this value to like the list, for example, right? Because this is what we want it to look like at one point, and then so what would happen is it would just keep adding threes. Like it would have like 100 threes, and then the moment you change it, start adding like 100 twos and then pluses. Every second it would just keep analyzing and keep adding. So we wanted to add a new item to the list only if you change your finger position, and we can do that is we can add it if what you're holding up at the moment is not what was just in the queue. Look something like this. Analyze the image from the web camera, and then what we're saying is if the identified class is not my variable, I'll explain my variable in a second. If it's not my variable, then we will add it to the queue, and then we will set my variable to identified class. One quick thing, the queue here is what we're going to do is once we add everything to the queue, what we'll simply do is we will once they click compute, we'll go through the queue and just do what it says. We'll just do what the queue basically says. We'll go 3 and then plus 2 and then plus whatever is next and on and on when they click compute. So what happens here is, how this code works is so first we check, because my variable because first we analyze this and then we set my variable to to whatever is analyzed at like the very first thing that's analyzed. So we can do that by going into machine learning environment, because the identified class is also a variable here, so you can add that as well. Just pop that in there. So what happens is that, so let's say I hold up a 2, then my variable will be set to 2. And then it'll add 2 to the list. And then the moment that my identified class is not 2. So the moment you change your fingers, it will add whatever the new thing is to the queue, and then it will add this whole thing to the identified class. You can make this a function, and we could call it block A, for example. And then we would have to define block A, and we would define this as block A, and then we would just put block A into the main code. This is the part of the code that actually like identifies the classes and adds it to the queue. We can test it out really quickly by just starting it. When you run it, the camera, your webcam should turn on, and you should have a recognition window here, and you should be able to see your hand. Okay, now that we can see this, what we'll simply do is we can like put up 2 fingers, and it'll tell us if it's a 2 or a 3, and then right now it's a 3, and then it'll add that 3 to the queue, and then when you add 2, it will add 2 to the queue, and so on and so forth. There, it wasn't actually adding it to a queue, and the reason for that is because we're missing we have to add one of these right here. So that means, so when it checks it, it would add whatever you're already holding up to the queue, and then it would just keep, and then it would do the rest of the code. So for example, if I hold up a 3 now, it should add it to the list. Yeah. Now what we need to code is we need to code the part where when you click compute, it actually goes through and computes everything on the list. Actual code for that part looks like. So the first way we want to do it, we want it to happen when you click on the sprite, because when you click compute, you want it to compute through what's in the queue. And then you initialize some variables. I'll explain those in a minute. And then what you want to do is you want to stop the other scripts in the sprite. So when you click on this, you want to stop adding more and more stuff to the queue, because the camera will keep detecting stuff unless we say stop other scripts in the sprite. And then the first thing we're doing, we're setting temp to 0. So temp is actually what the sum is. So each time we loop through and keep going, like each time we add something, we're just going to increase temp. So first we start off by setting temp to the first value in the list, in the queue. And we do that by going item, and we can just copy this here. We want to set temp to the very first thing in the queue. So in this case, it will be a 3. And then each time that we go through, we will just go +2 and then +3. We'll just keep adding whatever or doing whatever operation we see next. So now, how many times do you repeat the loop part? So if you look here, if you ignore the first item in the queue, because you already added that here, everything else, for every 2 items in the list, you're doing one operation. Like you're doing your +2 and then you're doing a +3 here. So it's just going to be -1 divided by 2. That's the length of queue. -1 divided by 2. That's how many times you're going to repeat through the following loops. Now this if statement is here. This if statement is only here because in the future we're going to add more operations, and then this basically just checks what the operation is, and then you do this operation based off of whatever operation was inputted here. So for example, in the future, if you add more classes like times, divide, subtract, all those different stuff, then you would go if item n of q is equal to, let's say, divide or subtract, then you would write the code for that. Now you see here n is set to 2, and the first thing, and we look at the operation because the first value in the list will never be an operation. The second one will be an operation, the fourth one will be an operation, but the first one won't be an operation because you can't start an expression with like plus or minus. You start with a number. That's why we set n to 2, and then the first thing that we look at for the first operation is the second item in the list. And then, so now the actual part where we do it is where we take temp. So temp is the current value of the expression. Like, so first at the first time we go through the loop, it'll be 3. And then we go temp plus item n plus 1 of q. So because n is the operation, and the one right after that will be whatever number we have to do the operation with. So let's say we go through the first time, n is 2, so we have to add, right? So we go through here and we have to add, and then we do item n plus 1. So we do temp, which is 3 already, plus item n plus 1. So we do plus, this is n, plus 1 is 2, so item 2. So we do 3 plus 2, that gives us 5, and then we just keep doing this, and then we do it again. So plus 3, and that would give us 8. One thing here we have to notice is because item n has to increase by 2 every time. So you have to add that at the very end here before you start the loop again, because or else it doesn't work. We have to add a block that says change n by 2 at the end of the loop. So this is what our final code should look like. Notice how that there is a delete all of q block here. That's because we want to make sure that all of the q is empty when you start the code again and start fresh and all all that. You don't want anything messing up from previous runs. Now I can test this and press the flag and then see what happens. So when we test this, the queue will be empty, and then we can hold up some of our fingers and test it out. So now we can hold up a 3, and then we'll add a 3 to the list. Hold up a plus, and then you can add a plus to the list. Notice how it is a little bit finicky and not perfect because we don't have enough cases to train with. Now you can add up you can hold up a 2, for example, and hold that, and now you can have it right away. Notice how it's already says 5. That's because the previous test was also with 3 plus 2. I mean, it was 2 plus 3, and now, but we computed it and it gave us a 5, and it didn't change, which means that it worked. So now you can, in the future, you can add more operations, definitely make it more accurate by adding many more different cases. And thank you for watching. Have a great day.